What's up? Welcome to a new episode of Movie Schmovie. This is episode number 340. My name is Steve. I'm one of the co-hosts, and as always, I'm joined by
Ron
and John.
Ron and John.
Ron.
I like it, guys. I
Ron
like it, guys.
and John. And dun, 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 dun. We're gonna have to work out a little.
Yeah, we got a little jingle going there.
Yeah, that is. It's itchy and scratchy. We're Ron and John, and you could add something about Steve in there. You know, we'll work on it.
I like it. Well, yeah, welcome to a new episode. The episode's going to be a good old-fashioned, like John called it in our text thread, a good old-fashioned catch-up episode. Going to go through some movies we've seen over the last week, some TV shows, I'm sure, here at the back of the podcast episode. But to begin with, we have a very big trailer, or I guess big, large, minor. I don't know where it falls for you.
6'7".
Yeah, one of those trailers.
Yeah.
So at the Disney upfronts, they kind of were talking about all this stuff coming up for Star Wars, Marvel, what they have coming in the future this week. And one of the big things coming out of it was the first trailer for She-Hulk, which is coming to the Disney Plus service in August. What you guys think of this trailer?
I mean, I just think we got to talk about the effects situation over at.
So hold that for a second. Hold the effects. But what about the story, the trailer? Like, what do you think that, like, Ronald, you mentioned before we started recording, like, the tone is a little weird, like different, not weird.
It's different. It's definitely a new tone.
Yeah, like,
for sure.
Where's the trailer fall before we even get into the
all right
CG? Because that's a huge, you're right, it's big.
Yeah. This could have come out in like 94. Like it feels like one of those, this was like, what if She-Hulk was a lawyer that she is, but she's trying to tackle romance. It's like that kind of, and I know that these are parts of some of the comics, but like tonally, it's like nuts.
It almost feels like a parody to me. Like it feels like one of those things you might see on like SNL or Mad TV or something like, just like them playing around with this idea of like the comic book movies being big. And even the fact it's like, doesn't it say like She-Hulk attorney at law?
Yeah.
Like as the title. But in general, the trailer like did not do anything for me. Like I'll definitely watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, you know, seeing Mark Ruffalo show up is nice. I really like Tatiana Maslany. Like obviously, like I'm a big fan of hers, but I don't really know that like anything that they're showing in this trailer story-wise or even what the story is going to be about has got me excited for this series at all. And that's, again, show me the Hulk, show me Mark Ruffalo, Tim Roth pops up. You see some characters from, you know, prior movies, which is fun and everything. But I think they're getting in, and we've talked about this so much, is like they're getting into a point where like I feel like there needs to be some sort of feeling of a spine to some of these stories.
Yeah.
And maybe it's there. You know, obviously this is just a teaser trailer or a trailer. I don't know what it was officially labeled as, but it kind of seems scattershot to me. But I don't know. What did you think of it, John?
I mean, this is an odd one because She-Hulk, there was a famous run in the 80s that I think this show is kind of inspired by. And maybe it's that even after that, when different people have done runs, they've thrown back to this. The artist and writer John Byrne, who was a big guy on Fantastic Four, and he was a big guy on X-Men during one of their pivotal periods. He's just one of those creators that people look to. Like DC hired him to reboot Superman at a certain point. He's that type of guy.
Right.
If you've seen his drawings, you'd go, "Oh yeah, I definitely have seen this person's style." Yeah. Anyway, the She-Hulk run that he did was very meta and broke the fourth wall, and did some really cool things with like layout. Like there was one where she is trying to escape and she rips through and you flip it open and it's a fake spread. It's a fake ad spread that she and the characters escape across the ad pages into another section of the book.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I think there's rumors that this show is going to break the fourth wall in that way, and that she's going to talk to Kevin Feige and shit like that. And it's like the way that the way that She-Hulk would turn and talk to the writer of the comic book and say, "Are you kidding me with this shit?" You know. And it's like when you read that comic now, it feels a little corny, but it also, you can feel that it was creative for what it was trying to do at the time. And I can remember when I read it, how funny it was to see anybody playing with the form. I mean, of course, we have Deadpool now, too, doing that fourth wall stuff. So I think that tonally the show could... it could endear itself to everybody really quick if they managed to do some funny stuff. I think what we've seen though with almost all of these Marvel properties is when they go for something a little bit outside, that it's like it's almost there. It's almost truly just great television or creative television. So we just have to see if this show turns out to have like a sure tone, because I don't think it has to be one thing to be good. I think though that we've talked about it just in our last episode, talking about Moon Knight and the new Doctor Strange movie, that we love them or dislike them or hate them or whatever. These recent projects, they do seem like at some point they're missing that mark of like, oh, the zeitgeist is gonna capture the hearts and minds. This is kind of like for fans of these characters, which is cool. But I mean, now let's get into what could be one of the stumbling blocks of this. This is going to be a super CGI driven show, and the character CGI as shown in the trailer, I've seen people defending it, and I can understand when people say just get over it, it's all make believe. But I think there is a basic level of like striving to do something excellently that I associate with fully CGI characters. Like even Jar Jar, as much as people hate Jar Jar, Jar Jar was an attempt to do something grand.
Sure.
Then a few years later, you have Gollum, and it's like Gollum was a step forward. And then whatever you think of Avatar, the world of that movie, the attempt to make things feel real. It's like, I feel like Marvel has at this point gotten to the point where they'll just throw in a super CGI character without any attempt to make it excellent, without any attempt to make it like a step forward technologically. And I don't mean that we should be talking about the technology. I just mean that that's part of the fun of cinema. And I think Marvel has a certain base level that they usually don't dip below when it comes to the movies. But, like for instance, this week, a lot of people were talking about, after the She-Hulk trailer came out, people were talking about the eye in Doctor Strange on his forehead. And I thought the whole time in that movie, it's like that eye looks like when I used to just like Photoshop and I would like step and repeat something. It just didn't look like, it's like do a practical effect and then augment it with CGI, something that feels like it doesn't just look like, what was
it's
it?
On top,
Annoying orange. Is that what the character was? It's like, that's what it looked like to me. So I don't know. I think a lot of times I look past the effects in these Marvel projects because there's so much. They're so CGI driven. You know what I mean? So much of the scenery and you just go, okay, I'm on board. If it reaches a certain level of verisimilitude, I feel I'm worried about She-Hulk as a character being kind of annoying to look at if she doesn't look better than she did in the trailer. Now, they often fix it after the trailers, but I don't know that they fix it that much. So I would say that's the big stumbling block for me. I could believe that with Tatiana Maslany, they can nail the tone, that they can have something fun and funny.
For sure.
I'm not so sure that they can get past a corny looking main character.
I watch a ton of like special effects stuff, and some of the stuff we've shared in our chat, and Steve, you brought some stuff to my attention, and John, you have too. One of the main things that all of the people say when they one project that I saw that was really amazing was trying to recreate the quality of CGI in Jurassic Park. They still haven't figured out how that movie looks as good as it did for the time, and even now, because they tried to create it. This like professional group of people that have done stuff for Marvel, have done stuff for all sorts of people, could not figure out how it was done. But some of it is lighting. Lighting is like 90% of what makes special effects decent to people. Like, to look at something and not look like it's raised on the screen is to kind of, everything has a uniform lighting. And to look at this character and see that she's just kind of floating on the screen like that, like she's
all smooth.
She's not a part of it. Like, light hits your face a very particular way. Like, this light is hitting my face, and light is hitting your face. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that seems to be ignored in the CGI version of, even when I'm playing video games. Like, you can play a video game and there's bad lighting in a game, like ignoring the idea that the spotlight's above you and they're just kind of walking on top of the light. If they do that, then I'd be very accepting of it, but it doesn't seem to be adhering to that basic rule of CGI. So I think we're doomed for the look of her in terms of like...
Yeah, you wonder if this is their footage that's finished now. I mean, maybe they just felt like they had to show people something because there was talk that this show was getting pushed back till next year. So maybe this is really just sort of a look at us reel. I'm sure that's what the industry term for that. Right?
Look at us.
A look at us reel.
Look at us. Exclusive look at us trailer.
But I mean, I was surprised that it's this soon. And you know, honestly, there's another Marvel thing coming out in just a few weeks that I feel like is kind of a sleeper thing. Miss Marvel. It also has a totally sort of different, lighthearted vibe and feel to it. So I don't know. I mean, you know, at least from the look of it, it feels like it's a more of like a teen comedy sort of approach. Or maybe even something analogous to the way that Miles Morales was treated in the Spider-Verse movie, the way that the Miss Marvel trailer is like, there's like on-screen graphics and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like there's an opportunity.
That looks great, I think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's an opportunity for something to be lighter and have an odd tone for Marvel and still click for people. So maybe She-Hulk is, you know, maybe I just feel like they don't seem that sure about it. And I don't know how important it is to them to be sure about things at this point as it is to just kind of get it out. And I keep thinking about my buddy Steve Ritter, you guys should know him, a nice guy, who said that he's worried about Marvel having a quality problem. And, and I mean, those words have been ringing in my ears, not because I don't think that they hit a certain quality level, just that when I talk, that it's that thing about trying to do something excellent, trying to do something that's really special. It does seem like at a certain point, it's hard to do that if you're putting so many things on the pipeline, unless you're giving those teams true freedom to create something, but we know that that's not fully happening. And again, we like the style of these things. So much of the charm of it has been the style of it. So
for sure,
I mean, you know, maybe we're just one Taika Waititi movie away from being all energized again.
Turning around on it.
I think it's volume. I mean, Steve, you just put me onto this. I'm getting a basketball hoop for my
you and me both, buddy. You and me both.
Very excited about this. So it's like the two hoops, so you can compete. And I've noticed that people that I compete against, they just kind of throw up 50, miss almost all of them, and make maybe a quarter of them. And I feel like that's what Marvel's doing at this point. It's not even about like, if you think that they can make that many shots when they're putting up 50, it's impossible. It just can't happen from one studio. If one group of people, it doesn't matter if it's a $12 billion budget. It doesn't matter, because you have to basically
a big budget.
I'm just saying, man, like you have to adhere to some sort of like, you know, you have to take your time.
I think it's called quality over quantity is what you're
but I mean, you know, in its infancy, they didn't know that it was going to be like $1 trillion business. You know what I mean? Like they wanted it to be. And you know, they just do a movie every couple years.
I love your money. Your money just is like a $12 billion movie. And it's $1 trillion franchise.
It has to be. I mean, with merchandise,
wait, how many movies are there in the series?
If you carry the two, it equals $1 trillion. Yep, you got it.
Especially.
I'm not gonna look into that.
Especially with merchandising and video games and stuff, man. $1 trillion.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But just too much, man.
I think you're right. I think it is. This is the thing, is that I don't feel like, for your analogy here, I don't know that like that they gotta like sync every shot. Like I feel I feel like some of these things aren't really meant to be, you know, I don't know. I don't want to take away from each of their own stories or, you know, the creative teams behind it. But I think to the MCU, to Feige, to whatever the master plan is, I think some of the properties are building blocks to something that, you know, will be the bigger thing, just like we've seen in these phases so far. So I don't think every show has to be like a home run, but I feel like it does feel very fragmented. And like, you know, I think even seeing, you know, the fact that John said, you know, Miss Marvel's coming out in a couple weeks, or is it a couple weeks, or like next week?
It's like June 8th, I think.
Oh, so June 8th. Yeah.
It's like
it's crazy soon. And I just think that, you know, the fact that that's coming up, and then this is not even 2 months after that, and then Thor's in between them, you know, that's a lot, even if you include Doctor Strange within, you know, 2 to 3 months. And even for Marvel standards, we're like, they're putting out more movies than ever now. And, you know, there was a bit of a backup in the pipeline, and now everything's flowing through. this is the one I feel like so far where I'm feeling like what they're showing me of it is not getting me interested in it beyond the people who are in it. And I feel like everything else, even as you place the Disney Plus shows, wherever you, whatever or however you feel about them, I think for the most part, all of them had me excited to see what they were going to do. And the CG of this one is a big, big problem. Like, it's the biggest distraction of watching this trailer. And I think it kind of like even prevents me from focusing at times on what the trailer is trying to tell me the show's about. And you're right. If you go, one of the best ones on YouTube, and I think I've shown you guys, it's Corridor Crew. And they do like good versus bad CGI. They've had Marvel artists on the show breaking down shots, and like they've done the thing where they recreate shots. One of the better ones is like where they did the shot of the Scorpion King, like that horrible CG.
Yeah, I love that one.
They redid that like in-house, and it's crazy how much better it looks with things that Rana was describing earlier. But yeah, I hope maybe between now and the time this starts rolling out that there's a vast improvement on how this looks.
Yeah.
But I think, I hate to see something come out that would just give more ammunition or more concern to people wanting to take Marvel down, or even to someone like me or us that are like, vocally concerned a little bit about what's going on, that they would kind of get this out when it was rumored to maybe be pushed. Yeah. And now it's coming out in a couple months. And
are we going to get the Sonic thing? You think that it could get like a remember what happened? People saw Sonic. They were
they didn't like it. It's a little Sonic too late for him to do a redesign, but I think they could add like,
it happened pretty fast.
They could add like,
they can improve it. Yeah.
I mean, I saw someone who put a picture even of Smart Hulk from the trailer up next to a shot of her, and he has like skin tone modeling, and maybe because he's a movie effect, they could just like upload the hard drive that has him on it. But
probably.
And he's got whiskers and stuff, and obviously they're not going to give her a 5 o'clock shadow. But I do think that like they could take they do need to kind of dirty her up a little bit as far as her look, and I think that would help because it really just looks kind of unfinished in that sense. But I mean, it is this trailer. Yeah, it's hard to know. It's really hard to know because they have done that before, even though that boggles my mind that like you would put out something that wasn't finished as your like first look at a major character.
Yeah.
But if it feels like this is almost like an investor's thing, we've got to get this image out here so that people see this. We got to make sure people know this is a real thing and that it's coming. Maybe they are banking. I think what you said it, Steve, that this might be a thing that we might say about a lot of Marvel projects in the future is it doesn't look that good, but I'm interested in it because of the people that are in it.
Yeah.
And like that's when that whole thing about Marvel can hire anyone, where it's like it teeters over into this other thing where now suddenly this cast of people doesn't promise anything to you, because they are at the whim of whoever's telling them, what's happening on the green screen that's going to be filled up behind it. And again, I'm not that cynical. I think this show looks like it has real character and real warmth that can happen. Like when I see Tatiana Maslany, I'm like, oh, she seems like she might be a fun Marvel heroine to kind of follow. And then when you see She-Hulk, and it's like I don't even believe that that's the same universe that's happening in. So maybe it's as simple as that it's unfinished footage. Yeah. I had the thought, and then I noticed everyone else was having the thought. That's when you know that it's more than just a little passing whim. Is like when suddenly everyone's talking about the effects, and like it's almost like people don't really talk about how great or bad the effects in Marvel's movies are. And I think that's sort of even with Star Wars, I feel like something's been lost in the sense of like just watching these movies and being blown away by what they're showing you. It's almost like they've rested on their laurels a little bit because they know they only have to hit, like I said, a certain benchmark. And they can make 600 million domestic in a couple days, and then it's I don't know.
I think they should just be careful, man. The internet is undefeated, and if you try the internet enough, it'll backfire, and it could start becoming like a poisonous thing.
Right.
I'm not.
No, you're right. It's now a thing where people look at the first thing they talk about is how shitty it looks. Right. Well, let's be clear that we're not talking about the work of these overworked and probably underpaid effects artists who are being pushed through. That's not the problem here. The problem is the pipeline, the lack of development time, maybe not throwing enough people at it. But we're not criticizing the work of the people who are chained to desks over there at Disney. I'm sure they all are doing what they can. But this is a lot of stuff coming out, and it seems like, okay, yeah, this is where you start to see the drift, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I think.
we'll see,
I think.
I mean,
it'll be
we're
interesting.
experiencing it. Yeah.
But like I said, I'm going to watch it, just like you said, Steve, and I think we're all at least on board to watch one. To see if it feels right, and if it gives me a few laughs, I'll probably stick around. It's supposed to be 9 episodes. I think it's supposed to be set up a little bit more like a show, like a television show. A whole 9 episodes.
Oh, excuse me.
I know, but what does that mean? Is that going to be 3 episodes spread out over 9, or is that going to be 20 episodes crammed into 9? What are they going to do?
Is it going to be 9 half-an-hour episodes?
I think they are half hours. I think
Take it back. Take it back. Just give us one fucking movie or something. It's just.
I mean, honestly, you still wonder: is one of these Marvel shows going to ever have like a complete argument as to why it couldn't have been a pretty good or great movie? I don't know. I don't know that they quite have had it yet. But WandaVision is probably still the one that's the most like it made the most use out of its structure as a half-hour show, and it was teasing you along with a little mystery. Which might be rare. I think Moon Knight had a certain amount of mystery too, but anyway, yeah, that's a lot of talk for a trailer. Let's talk about something else.
Let's talk about something else. I was going to mention because it came out last week or the week before, the Lost City. Did either of you guys see that?
I have not yet, but I'm dying to hear what my trusted friends. Yeah.
I remember South by Southwest when it came out and people were raving about it, and I was very curious about how it was. Steve, what'd you think about it, man?
I liked it. I feel like my expectations were probably a little high. Like you said, coming out of South by, and I think really, I mean, it's probably one of these examples of movies that people argue don't get made as much anymore or get into theaters, which are like these rom-coms, bit of adventure, very the comparison to Romancing the Stone is there and everything that you'll read about this movie, but it's pretty accurate. And so I think my expectations were a little higher than I feel like the movie delivered, but all in all, I mean, it's very entertaining, and I think it's a movie that really survives on the chemistry of Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, who continue to be like extremely funny in any kind of, in my opinion, in most comedies that they're in. Very underrated. Well, actually, she's probably not. She's been in a ton, but he's got the 21 Jump Street stuff going, and he's funny in a lot of stuff. But I think he, this is an example of his appeal and his, charisma. Once again, a reminder, because he hasn't been in a lot of stuff recently, that he definitely has it, quote unquote. Brad Pitt's little cameo in it, I think is incredible because
it's so good.
That's my guy.
They did right by your guy.
They did right by him.
They did.
It's a fun cameo, John.
I've seen a clip. Maybe it's a lot of his scene. I don't know, but like I saw some of that, and it did seem like there, because it's like you really have to go pretty far out. Honestly, in another movie, Channing Tatum plays that guy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like if Channing Tatum is not that guy, you have to really reach for who's that guy. Yeah. And for Brad Pitt to be kind of the golden boy fits right in your brain, that idea.
Yeah. It's crazy that like right after this, a couple months later, Bullet Train comes out with Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt. So like it's interesting.
Well, they're like really back? Like a week or something. It's in August. Just by a week.
Okay.
Yeah, Bullet Train. Yeah, you're right. I think they're they're very good friends. Like they're very close. Like
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I read this article about the whole the way that all worked out in terms of like him doing this with her and her doing that with him, because I don't know what her role is in that movie, but she's the person on the phone during the trailer.
Yeah, that excited me, man.
And what comes of that, I'm not sure. But yeah, so then he's in this one. But this is the kind of thing that you want to see more of. Personally, I love rom-coms, and especially when you get great leads together and you get that chemistry and they're just good together. And I think they're great together, honestly, in this movie. They're very funny. Radcliffe is good as the villain. I mean, he's kind of underused probably, but he's there enough that I was into it. And I'm just happy that this movie is like a success, like a critical success. The movie, I feel like they're going to probably keep it in theaters as long as they can to try to get it to 100 million, because it's only like, I think it's at 97 or 98.
Okay.
which is a great thing for a movie like this. And most interesting thing to me, and this is kind of a sign of the times, is that this is the title that Paramount, which through the pandemic, a lot of their stuff they sold off and, to streaming services. And there were a handful of titles that they held on to, this being one of them, Top Gun Maverick being one of them, that are coming out this year. And this obviously seems to have paid off for them. But that this has been one of the titles that is held to a 45-day theatrical window and then went to the Paramount Plus streaming service and did really well on the service. I think they said like 1.5 million Samba households. Like that's the tracking. It's not, so that doesn't even capture everybody that streamed it on Paramount Plus over the first 6 days of its release, which is great. That's a really good number for them. And especially, again, it's in theaters for 45 days already. It's still in theaters. It's going to hit 100 million probably. And, a large body of viewers watched it on a streaming service a month and a half after it had already come out. So, that, and you think about the Batman being a very big number on HBO Max after being a huge success at the box office. It had a 45-day window, same exact scenario. So I think that's going to become, a template or the norm, for the majority of movies to kind of try to get to that level. But yeah, just like I thought it was super entertaining, and I would definitely recommend checking out if you have Paramount Plus or if you want to check it out still in theaters while it's there. If you're a fan of any of the names that we just said, I'd say it's worth seeing. And if you just like a nice rom-com, I would still recommend it for that too. Did you like it, Ronald? I mean,
I thought it was great.
You were into it? Okay, good.
So here's the deal. I was actually going to transition into a movie because these are both adventure movies that take place in exotic places. But I thought that it was really fun, really incredible, and a better movie than Uncharted, which I also saw. So, if I were to suggest, something you want to watch with a little adventure and a lot of funny, I'd probably pick that over Uncharted. I don't have much to say about Uncharted, but I understand why it did really well. Tom Holland is not that character. I feel like I've played that video game. He's
that's
not
what everybody.
That guy.
I haven't seen it, but that's like literally what everyone says.
Not that guy.
Is that,
like,
yeah.
They could have. The problem is they probably should have just still went with Mark Wahlberg, because like the character is around his age in the movie. I mean, in the video game.
So you're saying Wahlberg would have been better in the role that Tom Holland's in?
Yes.
So then, who would you cast as Wahlberg's character?
Sam Elliott. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, I would love Sam Elliott in that role.
Steve Martin. I'm just naming all.
Not like it would have to be like, it's supposed to be like an older guy. So I'd probably pick somebody like who's it's an unpopular one, but I think he'd be real good in it. Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson would be really good in that role.
Would they ever cast him in like an attempt at like a family friendly franchise starter?
Probably
like
not. Probably not. Because you need somebody that's like kind of ornery and
you know who I'm really high on right now?
Who?
Josh Brolin.
Okay.
Yeah, Josh Brolin would be incredible in that role.
Yeah. But he doesn't seem that much older than Mark Wahlberg.
I mean, he could definitely play older than Mark Wahlberg. Have you watched The Outer Range on Amazon?
I wanted to start on that. How is it?
I really like it, man.
I feel like I like the way we're dipping in and out of these shows.
Hell yeah! Let's just let's just flow like this.
I love the poster. Like
it's a serpentine episode.
Yeah. How is it?
I really like it. I mean, like I've mentioned all the time on this podcast, like if it's got a Twilight Zone vibe to it, I'm in.
Yeah.
And it definitely has a vibe. It's got a vibe of that.
So this is,
but everybody compares it to like Yellowstone because of like the Western like family drama of it.
Hillbilly Wire is what I call Yellowstone.
So yeah, I mean, I haven't watched Yellowstone, but I understand what the show is. But I can see the comparison. But then it's got this weird, like, I would say more like Yellowstone probably meets like Lost or something like that. Really? Like there's a weird sci-fi thing going on in the show that
I didn't know that was kind of a part of
that. Is okay. It's interesting, but yeah, Josh Brolin is great in it, and I'm just like, I'm listening to him on some podcasts. I've seen him on some interview shows, on YouTube and things like that, and I'm very high on his stock right now. I love him, and I want to see him in a lot more stuff. So I'm not super familiar with Uncharted, the game, but I do have a frame of reference for like the aging.
Yeah.
But I feel like he could definitely play older, especially if Mark Wahlberg was like made to look a little younger.
Gotcha.
But I haven't watched Uncharted though. I mean, like,
you know what they could do, Steve? They could just put him in shorts, like little shorts and like a little cap, you know,
with like a little thing on it.
Yeah, he'd look really young. Give him a big lollipop, and he would seem younger.
I'll watch it.
Yeah. So what I don't understand is why isn't Schmovie Studios producing this film? I mean, because this is gold right here, guys.
Yeah. I think they casted Tom Holland because they want like 10 of these things.
Right.
You know?
No, that's definitely it.
Obvious. Yeah. Because when you do because like there's parts where the main character in the game, they go back to when he's a little younger. So like I get what they're trying to do. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, we could have booked those. We could have casted those people, and it would have been double the money. It would have.
We got them all on speed dial, so we could have made that happen real easy.
Hey, Joshy Poo. This is Ron, Steve, and John. Man, we're gonna talk to you about a little movie based on a video game called Uncharted. He's like, I'm in.
Sometimes Josh, I love him. He doesn't even talk on the phone. You just hear like the leather squeaking of his face as he changes his facial expressions, and you can tell.
You hear
he doesn't even have to talk. Yeah, and you hear like a creaking sound.
Right.
Leather car seats.
What else are you guys watching?
I want to just mention. Go. Sorry.
Are you going to mention what I think you're going to mention?
I don't know.
What are you going to mention?
Were you going to mention Bad Guys?
No, you can mention Bad Guys though.
You just did. Let's talk about Bad Guys.
Bad Guys, man, like a animated movie that actually casts people because of their voice talents and not because they're famous people. Sure, they are famous people, but the voice talent is incredible in this movie.
It's very
so it's based on a novel, a series of novels that came out a couple years ago. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them. But the movie is Richard Ayoade, Sam Rockwell as Mr. Wolf, Aquafina, Zazie Beetz, Anthony Ramos, Craig Robinson, Mark Maron, who is incredible and steals the show a lot of the scenes.
He does.
And it has a lot of heart. It's just about some bad guys who are given an opportunity to be good guys. And, they go through some changes based on the circumstances of what's going on. I don't want to give anything away. You just watch it because it's very funny and a lot of good world building. But yeah, it's about some bad guys that have the opportunity to do some good stuff. And it just, it speaks to like, there's this narrative about, what you've been taught to be versus what you can, the ceiling for people who are kind of told that they can't be anything but what they are right now. It has a cool, that message is treated in a way that feels a lot different than any kids movie I've seen in a really long time. Aaron's niece loved it. She watched it with me again. She like saw it in the movies, saw that I was watching it, and then watched it with me. She liked it that much.
Nice.
But yeah, man, really fun film that I'd suggest for anybody.
Yeah, I thought it was really good too. I finally saw it with Sydney. She'd actually already watched it, but yeah. Everything Ronald said, yeah. I just say like also it's just like I thought it was pretty funny too. Like
it's like legitimately funny.
And I think it's because it speaks to what you said about like the voice cast. I mean, I think they bring a bit of obviously comedy to it beyond even what the script says. There's just some of the voice talent that the timing is just really fun. And there's some physical, like some bits in it that I thought were hilarious. One of them's in the trailer when the snake is in that room with like all of the hamsters or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but it's really so funny. Trying to explain to Sydney what happened in that scene is what was fun also. But yeah, I mean, again, like this is just a very solid, very fun, nice family animated movie with a little bit of edge to it, I think. But yeah, I would also recommend that for sure.
Well, Steve, I know you saw another movie that I did not see, so I can learn about another one. You saw Firestarter, right?
Yeah, I wish I didn't.
Oh,
Guys, this is a bad movie.
Really? Like bad, like
this is a bad movie.
Like you don't seem like it's even bad in a fun way. You seem
it's
kind of
not. No,
it
I
brought
don't
you
really.
down.
I feel like no one in it really seemed to be in it or want to be in it. And I mean, I feel like the big thing is that wherever you feel about the original version of the movie from the '80s, like with Drew Barrymore in it, is it's got some like good or these interesting performances in it. Whether the movie is good or bad, but even so, many see that as a low bar. In the films that have been adapted from Stephen King work,
right?
And even with that expectation, I feel like this kind of really stumbles and just falls over that bar. Like it's just. And for Blumhouse, and you can kind of feel it. This movie's coming out with little to no fanfare for a Stephen King movie that has Zac Efron in it. From Blumhouse. They did the day and date thing with the release strategy, which is, I don't know. Again, talking about the Lost City and some of these movies that even the bad guys, it comes out in theaters for 2 or 3 weeks, which is a universal release. Makes the bulk of its money, stays in theaters, but then comes out. But some of these titles that are doing the day and date thing still are a little worrisome in some ways. And I think, again, the fact that they released it the way they did, just a really, really, really weak script, really weird tone to the movie, like not really being sure if it wants to be like a family drama or a horror movie or like a supernatural thriller, which is kind of, what it, I guess, should be more of, in my opinion, especially based on the source material. But weird effects, like it's a really big mess, to be honest with you. Wow. And it's only like 90 some minutes. It's really short, and it was hard to get through. I mean, like it is a train wreck. I gotta be honest, man. It is bad. I don't know what it is now, but I know when I started watching it, I just happened to look at, because I didn't really read a lot about it. And I started watching. I was like, well, I got to see what is the like Rotten Tomato score in this movie. I'm curious, because I got a really bad vibe like 20 minutes into it, and I want to say it was in like the low teens.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Which is bad.
Yeah.
Not that that's the end all be all, but just for
no, it's not. Reference. But yeah, right.
Yeah, I want to get like just a gauge on like if I'm really missing something here. Yeah. But man, stay away from that movie. I got to tell you, like it's not worth your time. Unless you want to waste 90 some minutes.
I would say look beyond the number on Rotten Tomatoes, even though 17% or whatever is pretty damning for a lot of movies. Man. But like sometimes if you go to look, I always go and like I think you can read certain reviews, like get a feel of what people are saying. Why are they saying it's bad? Why are they saying it's good? Sometimes people are saying something's bad in a way that sounds interesting to you, and you're like, well, actually, everybody hates it for something that I think I might like. But if everyone hates it, it's just an odd thing. I mean, it's like I know people like to say that critics are just full of shit, and it's like it's true. You're not looking to farm out your opinion from somebody, but if you're just looking to get an idea, if it's this kind of thing, and there's nobody defending like the kind of fun, the kind of genre thrills, the sort of visceral moments or whatever, then you can kind of tell like, okay, no, that number's low because literally nobody's saying anything positive about this movie. Not because a bunch of snobby horror critics or film critics don't appreciate horror films. You know what I mean? Like
there may be one positive, and it's that John Carpenter does the score for it.
Oh, really?
And the score is actually pretty good. I mean, that's literally the one positive thing I'd probably, when you're saying like, what's the one thing? Maybe it's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 17% is for the score.
Yeah, man, it's really disappointing too, because something obviously went wrong with adapting this, or I think the guy who wrote it also wrote Halloween Kills, which I also didn't think it was, that great. Yeah, and
I thought that was David Gordon Green and
Evil Dies Today.
Or he's got something. He's got something to do with Halloween Kills. Let me look at this up, because I was looking at it last night on IMDb. And he's got something to do with Halloween Kills. Yeah, screenplay by Scott Teems.
Evil Dies Today.
Yeah, he wrote Halloween Kills.
Really?
What's it say?
How did I think that was McBride and Green that wrote that?
So written by Scott Teems, Danny McBride,
David
Gordon Green.
Okay, there you go.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I'm sure they're all in it, but I mean, I think he was a part of. I don't know that he did the original reboot, but he was on the second of the.
He's the ringer they brought in.
I don't
For
know.
Halloween
I don't know,
Kills.
man, but
It does,
I don't know.
damn.
It's disappointing. It's a bummer.
That sucks.
And also of note, I think Zac Efron has to get a new agent or something.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know what's going on with Zac Efron. He's been in a couple interesting things over the past, I would say, 10 years. But like, he went from being like one of the biggest up and coming like leading stars of stuff in general to having like a pretty cool travel series on a streamer and maybe one or two movies that were good, very good over the last decade, which is bad. Like, I don't understand how
that's wild, man.
He's in this and it's like he's not interested in being in this movie at all.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I don't know. What else?
I wanted to
What
mention
else?
2 shows.
Let's go. First,
Vanessa Bears, I Love That For You on Showtime.
Okay.
Oh, I want to see this.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I love the cast.
It's like loosely based on a battle she had with cancer when she was a kid, and she imagines this world where she works at like a QVC kind of network, helmed by Jennifer Lewis, who is incredible in this show. Molly Shannon's in it. And just seeing Molly Shannon and Vanessa Bayer, it's almost like Vanessa's a very interesting person because I love everything that she does on SNL. Like, you know, for better or worse, she tends to be kind of a highlight in a lot of sketches.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like she was like, I want the legends. I want Jennifer Lewis, who is effortlessly great, Molly Shannon, effortlessly great in this show. And it just, seeing them play off of each other and seeing this like nervous energy that she has as she gets into this new career of essentially hosting like a QVC sort of thing. And like, it's such a cool concept that I've never seen done before. And I love when somebody gets an opportunity to make something and this comes out of it, you know, a show like this. It's so good. So see that show, please. I love that for you. And then the last one that I wanted to mention is something you probably would never expect me to bring up, only because sci-fi was just created a couple years ago.
I know.
Yeah, obviously.
And we've covered it all.
Yeah, we've covered all of the movies in the genre, this budding genre. So, you know, I grew up watching Star Trek my entire life. Like I've gone to conventions with my mom. My mom's a Trekkie, man. Next Generation is her jam, and the first iteration of it also very special. And I've tried to dip into the Star Trek world throughout my life, and you know, I've liked some, for better or worse. Enterprise was pretty good to me. Deep Space Nine is very good. Next Generation very good, and then this Paramount CBS sort of shit that was happening. For better, some people loved them. I didn't really like it. This Strange New Worlds that just came out is fucking good.
Oh, really?
It's good. And I think what they figured out was we just need to make good, simple stories rather than trying to like, oh, let's do something fresh. Let's do something. Just give us a good story that's in the world of Star Trek that pays homage to, you know, some of the old stuff, but this is basically the captain right before Kirk, and Uhura and Spock are on the ship and a couple other people, and you know, this guy is like kind of the same energy as Kirk, and that's kind of the excuse that they give for this guy existing. But he has the most beautiful swoopy hair I've ever seen in my life.
You're talking about the guy who plays Black Bolt, right? From Doctor
Anson
Strange?
Mount.
Yeah,
Anson Mount.
man. Yeah. He's like a statuesque man. Very, very cool in this role. And it could feel like, you know, since you've seen Spock on screen before, that who's gonna follow up with this role? But the character's not. I mean, the guy that plays Spock isn't really doing like an impression so much as like a gentle reminder of who Spock was prior. You know, it's like it's a cool way to do it that feels a little updated, and the dialogue feels a little hipstery, which has been like kind of a complaint that people have had. But it's a fun show so far. The first 2 are Strange New Worlds.
Well, our dialogue is very hipstery, so it seems like it might be a nice, like, companion to movie Schmovie.
Right.
Well, I'll talk about a couple things.
Sure.
Hacks is back.
Hack season 2. I
It's
meant to
had a
talk
couple
about that.
episodes out, and two couple more. At the time this episode comes out, we will have gotten 2 more.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hacks is just such a funny,
So-
specific kind of show. It has this. I mean, there's a lot of shows that are like this, that are just like. I don't mean that are like this, but I mean there's some that you get these great comedies that are just well written and they just sing and they just course along. This is one of those shows that you just enjoy spending time in this world, and I like how they do the good sitcom work of every episode has some kind of a moment or an event or a choice or a decision or a way that the story moves forward.
Yeah.
So that you could say, oh, this is the one where happened. But it also has this overarching story that, you could say it's about the friendship between these characters, but I think it goes even deeper than that. It's about like power dynamics and fame and I mean again, but you might think you've heard it before, you've seen it before, but the way this show approaches the sort of comedian that Jean Smart plays, Deborah Vance, like you can sort of plug in your mind, a little bit of Joan Rivers, maybe a little bit of like the sort of fame that someone like Roseanne Barr has, someone who you could totally imagine, like people would see this comedian on the street and would say, oh my God, it's you. Like people love this person. They've been in the culture for so long. They've been tabloid fodder for so long. I don't know that I've seen a show that quite approached, maybe it's the Vegas of it. Maybe it's the, is it Hannah Einbinder? Lorraine Newman's daughter, which blows me away. She's incredible. The supporting cast of characters, Marcus, Kiki, they're all really great characters. And I think the thing the show did early on that made it work for me, which often is the case with these kind of shows that could just be about nasty people being nasty, is that they don't pretend that everybody's nasty. Like Jean Smart's character, Deborah Vance, she is this nasty person, but she also has people around her that make her laugh and that kind of appreciate her. And that when, what's her name? Ava, is that her name? The Hannah Einbinder character? I think it is. When she's brought in, she's not like shunned and treated like shit by these people that work under this woman. They're kind of varying degrees of friendship. I don't know. It's like a surprisingly warm show for as kind of bitterly funny as it can be. And I like the storyline as it is right now. After the season came back, we've got Ava's in a real bind. With Deborah, where it's like this form of torture. You could argue there's almost no real friendship between these characters at this point, but there is this kind of forced servitude that Ava has slipped into. I don't know. It's a really fun show, and I think if you've heard of, Jean Smart's in it and she's really good, and different people are in this and they're really good. It really is that zippy and watchable of a show.
Yeah.
I also want to say, though, I've been enjoying the new episodes of Kids in the Hall on Amazon. This is that rare thing of it's a reboot where, I don't know, it's like that they definitely warranted a reboot with all the things that have come back. They had definitely had, there was always a question with guys like the Kids in the Hall of like, how big was their cultural imprint? How many people really remember them? Are they kind of a cult fame kind of thing? So many people cite them as an influence, but like, if you look at their career, they always kind of bubbled under the surface of the kind of huge fame that even some of the people, breakout stars on SNL had. So there's this whole thing of like, are they going to have their moment? Are they kind of like being a little bit underrated? Is that part of the allure of something like this? And so, and also they were famously bitter guys who didn't get along with each other when they were making a lot of the greatest stuff they ever did. And so you've always heard these stories about how like they like each other better now. They appreciate each other and what they have as a troupe more now. And they've done tours and they've done, with old material and new material. So it's like it's in the air that these guys are sharp and appreciating each other's company and could do something that stands next to their best work back in the 90s. And here's a show that, like, I don't know if it's because they just waited the right amount of time or they had the right people whispering in their ear, but they lean into the fact that they've all gotten older. There's lots of jokes at their own expense. There's a minimum of like what I was afraid of, which was a lot of you can't make jokes anymore stuff, but they there's only a couple times they've even tried to address like cultural appropriation or like PC culture or whatever, and they don't approach it from like a judgmental finger wagging way. They approach it with silliness and with absurdity. And so even if you think, well, maybe their take is not the sharpest compared to what some people's might be nowadays, they're not going for that. They were never topical. They always avoided being topical even back then. It was more about relationships and making fun of kind of middle class values in the suburbs and making fun of white people, which is still still just fine, you know? So I don't know. I just think that like it's fun to see that they found a way to do something that feels like it's of now, but it is also like it's almost like a sure bet that if you were a fan of their stuff before, this feels like they just did the 6th season of their sketch show. They just had a 25-year gap in between, which I think was the smartest way to approach this idea. Is just like just do funny sketches and do what they always used to do, which is be better than Saturday Night Live, because you get in and out within 5 minutes and you don't, you know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be live, and you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've been doling them out. They all 8 episodes came out at once, but I've been like watching just one a day or so, just because I know it could be so easy to gobble it up and not even really notice some of it. But it's been very much like watching an old episode of the show where maybe 1 or 2 sketches make me laugh really hard. One sketch is like weird as fuck, and one other sketch is like, is that a dramatic scene? What was that moment? But yeah, interesting performers doing pretty solid work. So I've, you know, as a longtime fan, it's been fun to see that not only am I enjoying it, but it seems like the general response to it has been, you know, they've arrived with what made them special intact at this point in their careers. So yeah, Kids in the Hall on Amazon.
Cool.
Steve, anything you've watched, or Ronald, did you watch anything else?
I was going to just quickly. I want to quickly mention. You mentioned Hacks coming back. I also wanted to make sure everybody knows that Barry is back.
Yes.
We haven't talked a lot about that. That is, I mean, arguably one of the best comedies on TV. I think. You know, so dark, but so funny and so consistent, season to season. And you know, whatever, 3 or 4 episodes into this 3rd season, hasn't skipped a beat. And man, I love that show so much. It's so entertaining. Like, it goes by so fast that I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, fuck, the episode's already over. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it goes at such a clip. But yeah, Barry, if you're not up to date on it, you know, catch up, because the season looks to be something special.
So who's the best couple on television? Is it Jimmy and Kim on Better Call Saul, or is it NoHo Hank and Cristobal?
I mean, it's NoHo Hank.
No, seriously, I love that. I love that plot line. It's like that was one of the first times this show has gotten me going. Like, no, don't kill. I really was worried about somebody this last week. You know.
I mean, if there are Barry fans out there, or actually they do this for a lot of the shows that we've talked about on this podcast, but just to plug another podcast, the Prestige TV podcast, which is a Ringer podcast network show. Highly recommend if you're a Barry fan. They're doing a recap this season, the night that the episodes drop. Sean Fennessy, who's incredible in all the podcasts that he does, he's doing a recap every week with Bill Hader. So episode to episode, they're doing like lots of conversations about the show, and a lot of what they talk about, you know, with the first couple episodes this season about NoHo Hank, and, you know, what that character's been to the show. And initially somebody who was supposed to die very early on in the series, you know, you can't get rid of a character like that. So to see what they've done with Hank has been a lot of fun. But if you like that show, I know they're also doing like We Own the City week to week, and they did Winning Time. We talked about all that on this podcast, but they've had some people from the shows on. But the Barry one, I think, is something special, because for Bill Hader being so, you know, involved in the writing and directing episodes and starring in this series, it's just been really interesting to listen to him talk about episodes from week to week. It's a great companion to the season if you're into that. But
he's a very thoughtful guy, very smart about.
He
his
really is, man.
Everything.
It's amazing listening to him talk about the show.
And occasionally that show will have a moment that is fucking hilarious. Like it's always generally funny, but every now and then there'll be a gag that's like, that is a great sketch writer's joke. Like that moment where I think it's Barry that's like going through someone's yard, and there's a bunch of dogs chasing him across the yard, and you just cut to the people inside the house that are having a conversation while this is happening, and one of the people says, "It's like you're breaking up with me," and then she's like, "Yes," and then it cuts outside, and then it cuts back inside, and the dogs are going back and forth, and it's like, "Why?" And it's like, "I told you, you have too many dogs." And it's just the silliest thing, but it's like that kind of cutaway to a random moment. It's like the fact that show reminds you it's primarily a comedy. It allows you to sort of contextualize some of the stuff you see at other times that could be disturbing. Like there's the most recent one. What's her name? Is it Sarah Goldberg? I think is the actress. I might be wrong about that, but what's the character's name?
Blanking.
Yes, this is. I promise it's more. Sally.
Sally.
She gives a speech like that. That's at a premiere for her show where she talks about the Rotten Tomatoes score and kind of it acts like she's giving a Lifetime Achievement Award speech, acceptance speech. But she has this like what could be a breakdown, and it's like on this show you're sort of supposed to laugh at it. You know what I mean? Like it's there for comedic purposes. And then on the other side of it, like Gene Cousineau's dilemma has been truly unsettling. Like I think Henry Winkler has been playing the sort of existential torment of what he's going through in a way that really feels sad and beautiful. So I don't know. Yes, it's definitely a show that kind of contains volumes. And I'll second your vote of confidence for what they're doing over there at the Prestige TV podcast. I live for their Atlanta coverage.
Yeah, it's great.
Every time that show comes out, I can't wait to hear that group of people tear into it because they have so many interesting opinions. And it has been such an up and down season for that show.
What's the name of the podcast again?
It's called the Prestige TV podcast. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
And it comes out like a few times a week, if not every day. But there's a different group of people that and I think it's on Friday that the Atlanta one comes out. So
yeah, they have like I think 4 or 5 things going. Right now. Like they have a Saul one. They have Atlanta. We Own This City. Barry. They just finished Winning Time. I feel like there's one more that that's going right now. But
cool.
Yeah, it's a great series. This week's episode where the whole gag with the remote detonation of the bomb,
the app.
Oh my god!
I love when he was going through the settings. He was like, "What location services always?"
Yeah. Oh my god!
I gotta catch up. Man.
No, the demeanor of the woman on the phone was perfect for like
the
that
trouble.
Sort of,
the customer service, like
that.
Yeah, let me put you on hold for 1 second.
Yeah.
Hold please. Oh, I think I know what the problem is.
Yeah,
it's so positive. But yeah, catch up, Ronald. It's great, man.
Yeah.
I think that's it for me. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to mention before that's probably plenty, but
yeah, I'm good.
What else?
I just want to mention one movie. Maybe I mentioned it last week. Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
That's her name.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Cynthia Rothrock. We're in a movie called Yes Madam, or Yes Madame. They say it like Yes Madame. In 1985, it was Michelle's first action movie ever. It's incredible. And there's rumors that Cynthia Rothrock, who's American martial artist who was in a bunch of like karate films. She was in a movie with Corey Haim back in the day where she was like his protector or something.
Fast Getaway.
Yes, Getaway. So it's rumored that she's going to be in a new season of Cobra Kai. But this film is like incredible. They're like, it's all practical stunt work. There's a little bit of wiring, but it's a lot of like guys falling off of buildings and hitting their backs and falling off of the rest of the building. But they did all the stunts there. There was like one take, you got hurt, that was it. It's a really good martial arts film. Yes, Madam.
Yes, Madam. I've seen people talking about that this week.
Oh man, it's so fucking good. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just checking to make sure I had nothing else written down, but I think that's good. John, you good? Anything else?
I was just going to say, I don't know if we've talked about it on the show, but people should be watching The Staircase, even if you don't think you're interested in that subject matter. It's one of the most unusual and impeccably made shows that I've seen in a while, and like the way it's another one of those things that if it answers the question of why you should watch another true crime thing, very very quickly you'll see what's different and special about this one. So it's not the acting first and foremost, but the way the show's put together as well. It's just like a weirdly high quality thing that makes it digs into some interesting aspects of the crime, or I think we all assume it was a crime in that situation. The alleged crime.
Yeah. Maybe it was an owl, John. Maybe it was an owl.
You never know.
You never know. Yeah, but that's great call. Yeah, make sure we mention that. It's great so far.
Another HBO Max show with a podcast that comes out like.
Oh yeah, the companion one that they put out. Yep. I love those, man. I love when the shows have these things that come out. HBO does it a lot, but
almost never listen to companion podcasts. Maybe I need to start getting into it.
Dude, I just love it for like the behind the scenes stuff, like the going into like the guy who's doing the staircase, like he basically was following the story back when it was happening in the courtroom. Like he was there, like with a camera, like he has footage, like he crossed paths with the guy that made the documentary. Like they talk about that documentary in the series. Like there's just so much interesting behind the scenes stuff. And the access they have, obviously in this case, the network itself is putting this podcast out. So, having the actors and the directors and the writers, like all the industry stuff is so interesting to me. It's like all the special features that I always loved on like Blu-rays, like listening to them talk about how it's made is in some ways as interesting to me as the actual product, just because I'm so curious, like how they pull off certain things or, how they approach certain topics without really kind of, in this case, Kathleen, like somebody that nobody really knows a lot about. So listening to Toni Collette talk about how she approached playing a real person that, people really only see as a victim of this crazy crime, but what she was as a wife, as a mother before any of that happened. Like, it's just really interesting stuff that they put out on these episodes. So yeah, I would recommend them for sure, Ronald. I mean, knowing you're interested in that kind of stuff, I think you'd really dig them.
Okay. Cool, man.
Yeah, the Better Call Saul Insider podcast is another good one. It's just this real chummy conversation where they always have the writer, the director, the showrunners, sometimes one of the stars, the editors. If it's like a notable episode for some reason, they might have someone like a set designer or someone who works on the show. But it's always it's like what you said, Steve. It's like a commentary track or something. It doesn't try to be the complete making of. It's just you get little tidbits and insights that you would only guess at if you were just watching the thing. Which obviously you don't need a companion to make something good. But it's like you said it, Steve. When you finish watching something, that's when you want to hear that conversation where they dig into some aspect and it might clear up something for you and you'll go, oh, okay. It helps you appreciate the craft of the thing. So, all right. There are other podcasts.
John's like, all right. That's that.
No, we just plugged like 19 other podcasts,
That's okay. That's okay. Nothing but love, man. It's everybody trying to just make it work. You know what I'm saying?
So they should plug us now, right? It's quid pro quo.
I mean, obviously. All right, cool. That'll wrap it up. Schmovie.com is the website. You can go to there and subscribe to the podcast through a variety of podcast platforms, whichever you prefer. Take your pick, choose your own adventure. And then if you want to follow us on YouTube, you can jump into that right from that same site and subscribe to the video feed that Ronald puts out every week or as often as we put out these episodes. If you want to watch the visual piece, you can subscribe and make sure you turn on the little bell that's below the videos so you get notifications when new episodes come out. But yeah, we'll be back next week, hopefully with another episode. I'm not sure what the episode will be about. Did want to note real quick, next week, I think next Friday, if my math is right. Yeah. Ronald, you might want to check this math for me. You're the mathematician of the group.
Absolutely.
Next Friday, I think, is like a big day. Like there's a lot of stuff coming out. Like Top Gun Maverick comes out. I think Obi-Wan comes out, right? And Stranger Things season 4 comes out. So we're being spoiled
in one. That's great.
In one amazing weekend.
And whatever we talk about on the episode that comes out on that day, it won't be any of those things because we don't have access to any of it.
Right.
100% won't. Unless one of us.
Chip and Dale.
We'll talk about that. But I'm saying, unless one of us goes to the Top Gun screening next week, we'll talk about everything but those three is what I was getting at. Yeah. So get ready, guys. We won't be talking about any of that.
We'll just talk about rumors.
I'm just very excited for all three of them, obviously.
No, it sounds like a Steve day.
Oh my God, dude. It is the ultimate Steve day. If only Brad could be involved somehow, I think I'd be covered for the rest of my life.
You never know.
You never know.
I could show up.
You're right, Ronald.
Like mid next week, he's going to tweet, man, I'm just looking for somebody to watch Stranger Things, Top Gun Maverick, and what was the other thing?
Obi-Wan Kenobi with. Well, yeah, what a great weekend, guys. Can't wait for it.
Yeah.
At least we'll be able to talk about it next weekend.
Yeah, finally, something to talk about.
Finally. All right, man. We'll wrap it up. Good seeing you guys. Thank you all for listening. And as always, you've made our day. Thanks.
Bye.